Baltimore's explosive offense was completely muffled by the determined Miami defense. And when Mercury Morris scored the game's only touchdown late in the third quarter, the Dolphins were confident of victory.
Kind of a mist is beginning to settle in over Memorial Stadium and is getting a little bit on the cooler side, and Jones takes it away. He wants to throw. Pressure is coming. Rolls right, sets and fires. Caught by Lydell Mitchell. He's got a first down inside the Miami 40. The takeaway by Burt. No fake. Deep drop. Wants to throw. Dumps it off to Mitchell. Mitchell's got it 35, 30. Down to the 25, and he's inside the Miami 25 and taken down at about the 23. Baltimore is on fire. Pitch out to Mitchell to the right side, swinging back to the 5, to the 2, and he is in! Oh, what a score! 53 seconds to go. What a dramatic moment as the fog really now, Chuck, becoming difficult to see the field as we get into overtime.
Baltimore's touchdown sends the game into sudden death overtime.
All right, again, remember now, the first score wins now, man. First score, 110% from everybody now. Damn it, the ball's in the way.
Shoulders of a guy by the name of Tony Linhart. There it is, spot, kick, it's in the air. I'll wait for the official. He did it! I don't have to tell you. Linhart has won the game. The Colt football team are being mobbed by young football fans who have waited and waited and waited. And the Colts have beaten the Dolphins twice this year, which means if they can beat...
From last place to first place in a single season, the Baltimore Colts, a team that rewarded football dreamers everywhere.
Good afternoon, Baltimore football fans, and welcome to the 50th anniversary reunion of the 1975 Baltimore Colts. I am Sean Hearn. I'm the executive director of the Babe Ruth Birthplace and Museum, the organizer of today's events. Sadly, we are beginning today's event having heard that former Baltimore Colt Andy Nelson passed away yesterday at the age of 92. My apologies, Andy. Please join me in a moment of silence for Andy. Thank you. Planning for this event began over a year ago when the museum was hosting a virtual program with Burt Lydell, Joe Ehrman, and George Coons. And someone during the Q&A period said, you know, it's going to be the 50th anniversary in 2025. The museum or somebody should do something. And that's how it all began. The museum took the reins, and with a lot of planning and a lot of hard work, here we are today. So joining us today, in addition to our lineup of 75 Colts, who will be introduced here in just a minute, are some special VIPs. The Baltimore Colts cheerleaders are here. Members of the Marching Ravens, the former Baltimore Colts marching band, are here. Sylvia Mackey, wife of NFL Hall of Famer John Mackey, is here. Renata Linhart, wife of Colts kicker Tony Linhart, and their son Barron are here today. Colts superfan Big Wheel and Spoke, Len Burrier and Bud Craven are here. Jody Marchabroda Holbrook, daughter of head coach Ted Marchabroda, is here. Former Ravens Kyle Richardson, Brad Jackson, and Femi Ajimbandejo are here. Sorry about that. And former Governor Bob Ehrlich will be joining us a little later today. As always, there are many people involved in making an event like this possible. And first and foremost, Maureen Kilcullen. Maureen is the former secretary to Ted Marchabroda, and she has been the chief wrangler of the Colts players for many years since, and was the wrangler to get them all here in Baltimore. Maureen, thank you. Katie Dick, the museum's director of external affairs, has done a masterful job of organizing all the details today, and we had an amazing committee that included Maureen and Katie, Mike Gibbons, Fran McCabe, Joe DeBlasi, Keith Kavanaugh, Ethan Franson, Katie Ford, Ed Meerholtz, and Gary Lennett. Their work putting all of this together has been nothing short of outstanding. And by the way, incidentally, I understand that Bill Belichick texted the team last night offering his congratulations and saying it was the best team that he ever worked with. Is that true, guys? I'm getting a thumbs up from Ken Huff. So today's reunion is possible because of our friends and supporters. So I'd like to thank artist Ezra Berger for a painting of our beloved Colts logo that will be up for auction a little later. Artist John Panisi, who is here today, who did the cover art for the poster and for the program. And Brad Meerholtz for the design of the Corallin the Colts logo. They donated their services, and we are sincerely appreciative. I also want to thank our volunteers who are selling raffle tickets, selling silent auction items, working the front table. Dennis Fulton, Dan Groen, Pete Wright, and Keith Kavanaugh for soliciting and gathering many of the silent auction items and raffle items we have here today. And thanks to our 3 Ravens playmakers for helping with today's raffle. Robbie Davis Sr. and Jr. from Robbie's First Base will be handling our auction, and to Meritage Jewelers for providing jewelry necklaces to each of the Colts spouses earlier in the day. They have been very kind and generous. Finally, I'd like to thank our sponsors, and I'm very proud to say that all of these folks are more than just businesses, they are our friends. Our presenting sponsor, the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens not only sponsored today's event, but have been working behind the scenes to reduce our costs, secure auction items, and coordinate the band. And in addition, they will honor the 1975 Colts players on the field tomorrow as part of their 30th anniversary celebration during the pregame ceremonies at Ravens Stadium. Lisa Dixon, Special Assistant to Steve Bisciotti, and Matt Little, Director of Legacy Engagement with the Ravens, have really gone above and beyond, and we are truly appreciative. And to our associate sponsors, Wally and Marianne Pinkard, Barry Gossett, Steve Perutka, Klima Peters and Daly Law Firm, and the Whiting Turner Construction Company. Thank you for your support. We appreciate what you have done to make today possible, but more importantly, we appreciate what you do year after year to support the Babe Ruth Museum. Many thanks to Union Craft Brewery for hosting us today, creating this great environment and great food. And just for today, we are selling the Sack Pack 6-pack. 1975, you'll see the posters up on the bars. We've got cans over here. So if you enjoy the beer, you can take a 6-pack home. And finally, over 50 organizations contributed to today's live auction, silent auction, and raffles, and we are overwhelmed by their support and kindness. This is a fundraiser, so I hope you bid often and generously. It allows the Babe Ruth Museum to continue to preserve Maryland's sports heritage. And with that, I want to introduce our 3 honorary MCs for today's program. Tom Davis. Tom is in the back of the room. Tom, will you stand up, please? Scott Garceau. Scott's here in the front. And Bruce Cunningham. Bruce, I'm going to turn the microphone to you so we can get the parade going.
How's everybody doing? Mike Gibbons from the Babe Ruth Museum said, dress like you're going to a bull roast. So Tom Davis, you look great in that shirt and tie, okay? As many of you know, I was the stadium announcer for the Ravens for 20 years. And with that in mind, it's my pleasure to introduce you to the 17 returning members of the 1975 Baltimore Colts, a team that went from worst to first in one stunning turnaround season. They finished 2-12 in 1974 and appeared headed for another disaster in 75, starting the season with a 1-4 record. But as we all know, good enough, they did turn it around, winning the final 9 games that year and were crowned AFC Eastern Division champions. An immense, historic accomplishment. So now, without any further ado, let's meet your 1975 Baltimore Colts. First up, he came to the Colts out of Louisiana Tech in 1974. Please welcome number 80, wide receiver Roger Carr. Next, from Southern Miss, a Golden Eagle, a member of the famed Sack Pack, number 72, Freddie Cook. Freddie can't be with us today. I apologize for that. Now from the University of Iowa, a special teams hero, number 55, linebacker Dan Dickel. Our next player, and another member of the Sack Pack, he led the team with 17 sacks in 1975, number 78, John Dutton. And now another member of the Sack Pack from Syracuse University, defensive tackle number 76, Joe Ehrman. Next up, the number 3 pick by the Colts in the 75 draft, 1 pick ahead of Walter Payton. How about that? Offensive lineman, number 62, Ken Huff. Our next Colt also came out of the 75 draft, a wide receiver out of Houston, number 29, Marshall Johnson. And now the guiding force of that turnaround season. Please welcome the Ruston Rifle himself, number 7, quarterback Burt Jones. Burt, you're still elusive. You still got the moves. No, okay. The next Colt kept defenders off of Burt Jones. A first-team All-Pro selection in 75, number 75, O-lineman George Coons. Our next guy needs no introduction. Calling Baltimore his home, been a broadcaster for years, great friend of mine, number 40, safety, Bruce Laird. Now another member of that 75 draft class out of Baylor, number 59, linebacker Darrell Luce. This next Colt came to Baltimore from the Packers in 1975. Please welcome number 57, linebacker Tom McLeod. Our next change it up. Call it audible, right? Our next player started at Penn State before becoming the first player in franchise history to rush for 1,000 yards. Number 26, Lydell Mitchell. Next up, a defensive back for 6 years in Baltimore, number 30, Doug Nettles. During his 5 seasons in the league, he was the NFL's shortest player at 5'5", but he played like a 7-footer. Here's number 27, return specialist, Howard Stevens. Our next player started 62 of 72 games played here in Baltimore, offensive lineman, number 64, David Taylor. Had to go home. The next player was a backup O-lineman, able to play all 3 interior positions. How about a special greeting for number 67, Bob Van Dyne. And finally, another guy we see all the time, lives right here in Baltimore, one of the longest tenured of those 1975 Colts, 3-time All-Pro, Super Bowl champion, number 21, Rick Volk. And now, it's my great pleasure to bring to the stage a man who's a part of the fabric of football here in Baltimore, whether it be the Colts, CFL team, and now the Ravens, the one and only Big Wheel, Glenn Burrier.
Everybody stand up. Come on. Now I'm going to lead this cheer. I only got one arm, so go with me. All right? Hold it. Are you ready? All right, here we go. How about one more time? I couldn't hear you. A little louder. Louder. C. Thank you very much. I'm going to give this here to my star.
What do you
Bert Jones.
No, you give it back to
I'll
him.
take
Oh,
that.
I don't want that, Mike.
All right, and while we have your attention, marching Ravens, let's hear that fight song. All right, let's get the program started. Bruce, I'm turning the floor over to you.
Thank you very much, Sean. One of the things we're going to try to do today is let you get to know these guys a little bit. You know, you were used to seeing them from your seats at the stadium. Let's find out a little bit about their personalities and what being a Baltimore Colt meant to them. So we're going to start out with Lydell Mitchell. Lydell, come on up to the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Lydell Mitchell.
Thank you.
You know, Lydell, here we sit all these years later. They've completely filled this room. You hear this level of enthusiasm. You played here. You can't be surprised by what you're seeing here today.
I'm not, and I tell you, all of us guys are very appreciative. It's nice to be remembered. 50 years is a long time. And so I'm just so glad I could be here and see a lot of my teammates that I haven't seen in many, many years. So I really appreciate it.
At Penn State, you were in the backfield with Franco Harris. How in the world did you guys ever lose a game?
We didn't lose too many. There's Joe down there. Joe, I guess we played against each other in Syracuse. But I think we lost 3 games in 4 years at Penn State. So we didn't lose too many.
No, you didn't. The 75 Colts, the Colts of you guys here at Burt Jones's era was pretty much the last hurrah for this franchise in Baltimore. It wasn't long after that the franchise left. Do you feel a special kind of pride in that?
Well, you know, we all knew the history of the Baltimore Colts. And when we got here, I think that's when we started going downhill. I think my rookie year was 1972. The Colts had just won the Super Bowl, and I remember at Penn State when Franco and I got drafted, he cried to me all winter long, man. So I'm going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm going to that lousy team, and you're going to the Baltimore Colts, who just won the Super Bowl. And the opposite just happened. And
it's a funny old world, isn't it?
But it was just great. Even then, you couldn't get a ticket to the game back in those days. And Baltimore is like it's a big city, but yet it had a small town mentality.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's what I loved about it. I mean, all the fans just embraced you. And when things are going good, man, this is what you get right here.
I think to illustrate what you just said, one of the things people call it is small-timore. You know?
Yes, absolutely.
Is that? I saw you at a Ravens game at Memorial Stadium, so I know you've been to a Ravens game. Will tomorrow be your first time at M&T?
No, it's not. No,
Tell me about that atmosphere compared to Memorial Stadium.
Well, I mean, I think it's the same. Again, you have a small town.
Yeah.
And the people, when the Ravens came here, they embraced them just like they embraced us. And it's just the same thing. It's just a carryover. I think it took them a little while to get used to them, but when they did, I mean, they just got their arms around them like they used to do us.
They made a point to seek out former Colts. They knew the Colts were the key to their, let's say, establishing themselves here in Baltimore. That was probably a smart way to go for them.
I think in the beginning they did, and I kind of wish they continued to do that, but it's not like that. I think it's more business-like now.
Yeah.
And so they don't reach out to us maybe the way that they should.
What do you want the fans of Baltimore to know?
We love you. Fantastic fans over the years. You know, when you go into the community, and especially when you see a lot of folks that are much older and they remember you, I mean, it's just a fantastic time, man. And so we really, really appreciate that of the fans and the people who had those great memories that we had. I mean, what a great time. And again, I think what tops it all off is these guys down here, my teammates. I mean, it's just wonderful.
It's all about love, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Ladies and gentlemen, Lionel Mitchell.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege to introduce our next honorary MC, longtime voice of Baltimore sports and a good friend of the Babe Ruth Museum, Scott Garceau.
Lights are bright. Thank you, Mike. Great to be here. Mike says privilege. Privilege to be here with some of these guys that I was able to get here and see play in Baltimore, and all you fans. Just talking to a good fan who drove here from North Carolina today because he said he wouldn't miss this chance to get together with the 75 guys. I'd like to bring up 2 of your favorites right now from that 75 team. This guy was a 6th round pick in the 72 draft out of American International. Where's American International? Sounds like it should be in our country, right? Anyway, he got here and captured a lot of hearts with his physical style of play. Never met a ball carrier he didn't think he could take down, and he usually did. From 72 to 81, a Baltimore Colt. Let's hear it for Bruce Laird. And we represent both sides of the ball. This next gentleman was a 1st round pick in 1974 out of Louisiana Tech. One of the great big play players in NFL history. a Colt from 74 through 1981. Let's hear it for Roger Carr. Now, Roger, I'm sure will have a lot to say. Bruce is a little shy, but once you get to know him, he opens up a little bit. I want to start with last night. I know a lot of you guys got together for a dinner and a story, and I guess there's nothing like 50 years later being with your band of brothers, Bruce.
It really wasn't. I mean, it really is. It was so incredible to see the guys and their wives and significant others now, but no one has really changed that much. When you look back at that year for us, coming from a 2-12 team, weren't we, Scotty? With a coach that I thought was one of my worst head coaches I ever played for. I think his name was Howard Snellenberger that we had. And then we got this young man out of LA. He was a George Allen protege. He was an offensive mind, Ted Marchibroda. He's got a bunch of guys that, for the most part, most of us didn't even have girlfriends, actually. Like, most of us had dogs. Like, I had Barabbas. Barabbas was my dog, and then we met each other and met their girlfriends that became their wives. And we found this bond amongst a bunch of young guys that really didn't know how to win. Because we were never taught anything about winning. We were taught about, you know, game plans and maybe playing games, but until Ted Marchibroda came, Scott, he brought us all together, I mean, offense, defense, special teams, and really taught us how to win.
Roger, Bruce is here, and he gets to see some of the guys that live in the area. For you, what does it mean to come back and reignite these relationships that I guess sometimes you feel like it was just yesterday, but here it is 50 years?
It's just been a wonderful blessing. It's really been a blessing to be here and to see all of the fans that still love the Baltimore Colts, and just to be a part of that and to have put that helmet on at a point in my career, and with those horseshoes that were on my helmet, I just thought that was one of the grandest things that the Lord ever let me do. And when I look and still see the people that like to see us and love sports, well, then it just makes you thankful for the blessings of life, and for Bruce and Joe Ehrman. I mean, I just got to see guys here that were such an inspiration to me, and great football players, but great men, and I'm thankful to be here.
In 1975, I believe you scored your first NFL touchdown, and it was an 89-yarder. Do you remember that one well, the first one?
Yeah, I sure do. I really do. Bert, we ran a deep post, and Bert threw it up, and I caught the thing, and a guy chased me. I don't know why he never tried to tackle me, but he didn't. But anyway, that was a big play, and it kind of got us going a little bit. And as Bruce said, last night, we won 9 straight after that. So what a turnaround it was for that year, and to be a part of that was good.
So you start that year 1-4, Roger. You're coming off a 2-12 season. I don't imagine anybody saw a 9-game winning streak coming, but describe how that thing picked up momentum and how, you, as Bruce said, you started to believe.
Well, I think that was, and you have to have good players, great players, I think, to do those kinds of things. And Joe Thomas, I think, was an astute talent finder, and most of the people around that room last night, Joe Thomas drafted. We were young and we were inexperienced, most of us were. But there was a lot of talent. There was a lot of potential in that room. And I think once it began to turn around, then the talent became apparent, and then we began to mold together. And, of course, Ted Marchibroda and the coaches and the players. So it was a wonderful time to be in Baltimore.
So Roger, for his career, averaged almost 19 yards a catch. I looked it up the other day. Since he retired in '83, only 3 players in the NFL have exceeded that number in yards per catch. He was a big play wide receiver. You had to defend him in practice once in a while. How would you play a guy like that can get behind everybody?
I tried to tackle him. Because he was so damn fast, I couldn't even find him anyway. So, no, and that was one of the big things. And my teammate there, Rick Volk's in the audience. When we practiced against Bert, we call him BJ, we practiced against Bert, it was like a personal thing because we tried to go after each other at all times. And everything was, Coach Marchibroda's saying was, be ready, be prepared for the big play. And when we practiced against each other, especially 7-on-7, it was competition. I'd be bad-mouthing Bert, throwing out stuff, and he'd be going out, and we competed every day, right through Saturday. Even Saturday, we had 2-minute drills. I don't know how many teams practiced much on Saturday, but we had a long 2-minute drill. The clock was on, and everything was fun competition. And even when we did the mullet side, you know, we were showing the other, when those guys like Roger was showing us the other team's offense, everybody ran hard, everybody participated. But I think the magic of that year was the likes of the sack pack, John Dutton, Joe Orman. Some of the things in the locker room were so magical and so true to form about 23 and 24-year-old men trying to figure out that we can win and play together. We weren't all that talented. I mean, obviously for us in the backfield, if we didn't have the sack pack in 75, I think they had 59 sacks with just 4 people. We ran a 4-man front. Not many people understand the difference between a 3-4 and a 4. But we had the big boys up front. And I'll tell you what, when I knew there was a blitz on, all I had to say to the guys, give me 3 seconds, man, because I can't cover more than that. If we're going with a dog, you better get to him.
Well, the sack pack and you guys in the back didn't get many Sundays off. So I'm looking at your 75 opponents, running backs, Walter Payton, O.J., Franco, Mercury Morris, Hall of Fame quarterbacks, Bradshaw, Namath, Greasy, Len Dawson, and a couple other guys that could sling it, Jim Plunkett and Joe Ferguson. You had to come ready to play every week.
Oh, I mean, without a doubt. And the point of the matter is, I mean, we had Roger. He was the go-to guy, so everybody had to worry about him because he could take it to the house anywhere, at any time. He had that kind of speed. I used to run with him, and we would do striders. And after like 25 yards, I'd just try to say, "Could you slow up for me, please? I'm trying to catch up to you." And so we had that, and then we had the Glenn Dowdy that could make the big play, a tough wide out, catch the ball and run. Freddie Scott was with us. So we had that. Raymond Chester came over. So we had a great combination of players, and everybody cared about each other. Joe Orman used to put together, along with the guys, and Raymond Chester and Lydell, we used to put the greatest Halloween party together. All of us, every player, I mean, almost every player with their wives or girlfriends, we'd meet, have a great holiday party, and we really just loved each other.
Roger, I want to ask you about, so 75, you get rolling, 76 is your big year, lead the league in receiving yards, double-digit touchdowns, Bert's the MVP. Talk about your relationship with Bert and how you guys developed into one of the big play combos in NFL history.
Well, I went to Louisiana Tech, and Bert lived in Ruston, so we were Louisiana buddies, really we were. And we threw the football and worked out together. At times we'd go to Grambling, we'd work out. So you're not going to be a real good receiver if you don't have a real good quarterback. And boy, did we have a real good one. So I was able to run, and Bert could throw it. And we had a great offensive line. You know, George Kuntz is here today, and of course Kenny Mendenhall and Ken Huff, Robert Pratt, all those guys. Bob Van Dyne you mentioned. So you look back, I coached for 25 years, and I look back now and I see, well, what are some of the reasons we were successful? And almost everywhere I've ever been when we were good, if you look at our offensive line, we were pretty good. We were pretty darn good. And we were there, and we gave Bert enough time. And I'll always say that I think I got an opportunity to play with one of the finest quarterbacks to ever throw the football. Nobody comes along any better that could throw it any further, any faster, any harder than Burt Jones. And he was such a competitor. So I'll tell my kids and grandkids that I said, you see this guy, and I'll show them some film. And I'll say, you're looking at probably one of the top quarterbacks to ever throw a football.
Hey, Roger, this is what I remember in practice. I remember in practice, Burt would be on the right hash, and he's throwing you a 20-yard out pattern from the right hash to the left sideline, and the ball is whistling. You hear the ball before you actually see it because it's whistling at you. Seriously. And then, Burt probably was saved a lot by defensive players like myself that couldn't catch, because not many of the opponents could catch his ball either.
So knowing I was going to be here today, I hit the 75 Colts highlight film last night, the old NFL films with John Facenda. And a lot of things stuck out, but two things kind of jumped out at me. Number one, these fans. These fans that you guys had that loved you so much, were part of the fabric of Baltimore. I saw the people at the airport when you came back from road trips. What was that like? And then the second thing I'd like you both to address is, I'm watching games at Memorial Stadium. Great place, outdoor insane asylum and all that, but that field was a mess with the infield from the Orioles, the mud late in the year. So talk about the fans in that field that you called home at Memorial Stadium. Go ahead, Bruce.
Well, I mean, the fans were always incredible. And one of the big things about this football team, and it really started in 1975, and it started with Joe Orman, Mike Barnes, gathering guys. And again, not many of us were married. So every Friday, we had basically burgers and beer somewhere. And we went all throughout the community, from Towson to Catonsville, to Parkville, to Pikesville. We'd go in a place, 25, 30 guys together, 4 or 5 in the afternoon. The smart ones went home by 8 or 9. People like myself stayed out till 2 or 3. But that was where our matrix was. Black, white, I mean, it didn't matter. We were all together, enjoying each other, and the camaraderie was special.
Roger, for a guy that depended on speed, those field conditions could be tricky at times, I guess.
Yeah, they used to come out and paint the field green to make you think you had grass, and you didn't. But, talking about the fans, we've got some friends that are here today that were dear friends to us during my 8 years here. My wife sat with them in the stands, and her husband was worked in the fire department, and they were just good old solid Baltimore people. And we cooked together, ate together, and they're here today to support the Colts and for us to see them. So we had tremendous, tremendous fans.
Bruce, you stayed in the game, broadcasting, being around it. Roger, you coached after you played. Your sons obviously had their own path. How important has football been in your life from the time you played to being a father, a coach, and everything else you've done in the game?
Well, I believe the Lord gives you talents, and I believe He gives you opportunities to do what He's gifted you to do. And some of us here today had the gift of being able to run or catch or throw or do some of those kind of things. And thank God we were able to do it, that He allowed to do us. And the Bible says every good and perfect gift comes from above. Yeah. And it's days like today that we turn around and we look and we say, God, thank you. Thank you for those marvelous gifts that let us meet such wonderful people and take our talents that you gave us and give it all back to you. And so I'm just so thankful. This is one of my special days. I'll remember this for a long time.
Very good. Let's hear it to the great Colts from 75, Roger Carr and Bruce Laird.
Thank you, Scotty. Well said, Rog. Very nicely said.
Thank you. God bless you.
All right, let's hear it. Howard Stevens. All right, so when did you think you could do it? We heard, 5'5", 160 when you hit the NFL?
When I was 11 years old.
So probably when you were 6 or 7 years old, somebody had to be telling you, you're probably too small, right?
If I had $1 for every time I heard that, I'd be a multi-billionaire.
Well, Howard was drafted by the Saints 2 years in New Orleans, right?
Yes, sir.
And then your timing was perfect. Howard shows up in Baltimore in 1975. Good timing.
Well, the timing was Baltimore came to play a preseason game in New Orleans, and I had a really good game. And that Monday, I was traded to Baltimore. And I went in to my coach, and I thought he was going to let me play more in New Orleans. And he said, "You've been traded." And I said, "To where?" And he said, "To Baltimore." And keep in mind, the Saints beat the Colts. And anybody that
the Saints weren't very good.
And anybody that the Saints can beat, you don't want to play for. So I said, "I've been traded, and I wanted to keep playing." I said, "When do I leave?" It was 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and he said, "You leave at 7 o'clock tonight."
And here you are.
That's the NFL.
So really, when did you feel, I mean, you had a successful college career at Louisville, but when did you feel that you could make plays up here with the big boys?
I thought that if I were given a chance, I could make plays. Running the football sometimes requires size, but not most of the time. The most of the time is if you can gain yards, it doesn't matter whether you're 6 feet tall or 6 inches tall. The idea is to get the job done, and I was able to do that at the major college level, so I thought I could have a chance to do it as a professional as well.
Well, you're in the right town. I mean, you were before Muggsy, but you making your mark in the NFL. And by the way, Howard wasn't just a guy that returned kicks. 3 seasons, he was in the top 10 in the NFL in kickoff returns. 2 other years, he was top 10 in the NFL in punt returns. But you, Muggsy, inspiration for kids that aren't always the biggest, right?
Well, I think what happens is people are very quick to label you. And I think oftentimes you have to forget about those labels and pursue the things you want to do in life. I wanted to play football, and I couldn't let those people that wanted to label me deter me. So I just worked hard, and I was fortunate enough to get an opportunity to get a chance. And folks, when you get a chance in life, you got to make it the chance in life.
Well, in today's game, each team probably has a kicking coach, special teams coordinator, assistant special teams coach. There's 3 or 4 guys with their hands on special teams. Maybe your timing was good because special teams, you didn't have the emphasis back then, but Ted Marchibroda came from George Allen, and George Allen really knew that you could get an edge if you could win special teams.
Well, it's really a team game, and it's 3 aspects: offense, defense, and special teams, and everybody has to do their part. And if you sit around and analyze a football game, you can watch where one team fails, and you can see how the whole team loses. So all aspects are important. I was given an opportunity, and I'm just thankful that I got an opportunity to play in Baltimore and be here for this year as well.
So 50 years ago, how much time was spent on special teams? Were there special teams meetings, or did you just catch a few kickoffs in practice? How did that go?
No, there was an emphasis on special teams. We had punt and kick return coverages and all that kind of stuff. So it was a vital part of the team, because if you drop a punt, generally it's in your end of the field. If you mess up a kickoff, it's obviously in your end of the field. And so you have to make sure that you are getting your job done so you don't let the offense and defense down.
What did you think in '75? You said you came to a team that's coming off 2-12. You win the opener, you lose 4 straight, you're 1-4, and then that miracle on 33rd Street happened.
After we lost the 4th game, I said, "Here we go again. I'm back in New Orleans." And then we went on a streak and won. And there's nothing like winning when you're competing for a game. And it didn't matter who won, who did the job. It's just that our score was bigger than their score at the end, and we were a team of guys that were looking to make that happen.
Well, if you had Burt and Roger Carr and Lydell on the offensive side, the sack pack front 4 with nearly 50 sacks, if you could get some juice out of special teams, I like your chances, right?
Absolutely. We were good, and we were sound special teams. We didn't we didn't turn the ball over much. You don't get to play a long time if you turn the ball over. And I was back with Bruce Laird on kickoffs, and I was back there returning punts. So the bottom line is make sure you secure the ball and get as many yards as you can. Turn it over to the offense, Burt Jones, Lydell Mitchell, Roger Carr. If you can keep the ball in your hands, you got a chance to win.
When did you realize during the 9-game streak that there was something special going on?
I don't know that we realized it. We just knew that we had to win every week. But when we got to that 9th game that we had to win, everybody was fired up, and we got the job done. It was, it was nothing given to us. I think we earned every week. There were no easy games, and we had to play New England that last game of the season, and we beat them here, and I just tell you, there's nothing like winning and going to the playoffs in the NFL.
I was looking at the New England game last night, and Chuck Fairbanks is the head coach of the Patriots. His first head coaching job was at my high school. My Uncle Dave played linebacker for him, and I'm thinking they took Chuck out. Well done, boys. But that was huge, and the crowd was going crazy. Looked like Game 7 of the World Series or the Super Bowl. The fans were just going nuts.
Well, keep in mind, we were 2-12 the last year, and now we got a chance to win a game and go into playoffs. That is absolutely thrilling, and every player on that team knew what we had to do to make sure that that was going to happen.
Well, the relationships last forever, right? So 50 years since that season, you guys get together this weekend, and it probably feels in some ways like yesterday.
It's like no time has passed. When you've played on a team and you've sacrificed and you've gone through the practices and you've gone through the cold days and you've gone through the ice whirlpools and the tubs and all that, and you bond as a team, it lasts forever. If you've been in a locker room, it's a very special place, and I think we had one of the special locker rooms, 75, 76, 77. We had a very, very good football team.
So what do you think of the new kickoff rules? We got landing zones, we got touchbacks coming out to the 35. The game changes, but your thoughts?
Bah humbug.
It looks weird, doesn't it?
It looks strange, and I'm not sure I would have a job now if they had those rules way back when. I think we played football, and they're playing some version of football now. I don't know what it is.
It's hard to recognize at times, right?
It really is.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for big play, little guy, key member of the 75 Colts, Howard Stevens. And look out for him on the golf course, because he'll steal your money if you're...
In the meantime, I want you to step over to the main entrance and say hi to Richard Petrie, who has a new book out on the 1965 Baltimore Colts. It's great, I've read it, and it's called Sudden Death. That is the year when the Packers beat the Colts in a playoff game by missing a field goal that the referees called good. So go see Richard Petrie over by the front door and get yourself a copy of a really good Baltimore Colts book. Now, in the meantime, I'd like to welcome our third honorary MC of the day, a guy who's been covering Baltimore football since way back in the 70s, I suppose. And he's a good friend of the museum and to all of us. Please give a nice welcome to Tom Davis.
Thank you, Mike. Good afternoon, everybody. Before I introduce a couple of guests that I got coming up here, I just want to thank everybody for coming, for one, and just tell you a couple of quick stories, if I can. One of them has to do with the situation when the plane flew into Memorial Stadium and crashed. I was actually on the air that game, in the post game, and what happened was I actually turned to our engineer and said, we'll be back after this. The plane came in mezzanine level. I said to the engineer, he's not getting out of here. And he didn't. Donald Croner crashed the plane into the upper deck. So that's one story. That was in '76, by the way. And then the other story that I find kind of interesting, sometimes stories fall into your lap. And back in 1984, in March, our team that we rooted for all our lives, the Baltimore Colts, left. And that particular night, I was on WCBM filling in for Phil Wood on a sports final talk show. And we got a call around 10:15 that there were Mayflower moving vans over at the complex. Well, we checked it out, had our news director, Bob Schilling, go over there. He said it was. And then we broke the story, and Baltimore was never the same after that when the Colts left for Indianapolis. So, a couple of stories that were actually out there that I actually fell into. It wasn't like I broke anything, but they're sort of like indelible memories in my mind. So, one thing about the 75 team that I'll always remember is the development of the sack pack, and I'm looking at one of them right down here below me. And a terrific player out of Syracuse. Come on up, Joe Ehrman. And another player that did a terrific job at defensive end. And we're out in Nebraska, had 17 sacks in that 75 season. We're talking about John Dutton. Come on up, John. Good to see you. You're looking great. I'm going to send this one so you grab some mics over there. Well, these two men were very instrumental, along with Fred Cook and Mike Barnes, formulating the sack pack. Tell us how that all came about, the name for the sack pack.
Well, we came in 1973. Barnes and I were drafted first and second round. The following year in 74, John and Freddie Cook were drafted in the first and second round. So we had four players come together that really gelled and complemented each other. And with a high-powered offense like we had, it gave us lots of third and long opportunities. So.
Definitely so. Now, I looked up some statistics here for 59 sacks in 75 for the team. John Dutton had 17, Fred Cook 16 and a half. You had Joe Ehrman with 8, Mike Barnes with 8. Of course, Barnes was out of the University of Miami. Stan White chipped in, by the way, with 6 and a half. But John, 17 sacks. That's unheard of number now.
Yeah, I credit Joe and Mike for flushing all those people out of there for Freddie and I. It wasn't for them, we wouldn't have got all the sacks.
How about the whole atmosphere of that team? You reel off like 9 straight victories to end the season before making the playoffs. What was the key to the turnaround?
I think it was one game at a time. We just, fortunately, we had a great comeback. We were losing to the Buffalo Bills 28-7 at halftime. Man. OJ had caught three touchdown passes, and we came back and won that game, which was, I think, our second win of the season.
Right.
And we played another game and just the momentum.
What about you, John? What did you think about that comeback?
Well, I think, we were a young team. We lost the first 4 games. And it really didn't faze us, I don't think. I mean, it didn't feel like it fazed us. We knew we were good. We knew we could make it happen. And we did. I mean, with the offense playing like they were, we were good defense. We could stop people we needed to. And everything just started clicking. And it happened that day.
How about Ted Marchibroda? He becomes a coach in 75. What are your thoughts on what Marchibroda did to help the team win? Joe?
Well, he brought a winning attitude in his mind.
Yeah.
Teddy was pretty upset sometimes, but he understood the game. Good offensive mind, had good defensive coaches, and he just got everything calmed down and knew how to put pieces together, and he did a good job of it.
He really changed the culture.
Yeah.
Because when you go, we were 4-10 and then 2-12 in the 2 previous seasons, and you can get conditioned to losing. And I think Ted really changed the culture and brought a winning spirit in, and brought Maxie Vaughn in as our defensive coordinator. And boy, he was just a tremendous asset in leading that defense.
John Dutton, Bruce Laird tells a story to me about that Tony Linhart missed a field goal in a game, and after you had worked real hard to win a football game, and you were trying to find him on the team charter, and Laird put Tony in the men's room and locked the door so you wouldn't open the door and send him out of the plane. Is that true?
I think Bruce is full. Bruce, where are you?
Bruce.
Are you still out there? Yeah. No, I was pretty excitable sometimes, as everybody knows. My wife was commenting about a picture of me on the sidelines one time. I'm not saying some nice words, so I was pretty upset all the time. That's my game. Keep me in pads and keep me angry. And that's how I play.
How about Burt Jones? That was his first big season in the NFL. What made him as good as he was when things started to go right in '75?
Well, I think Burt was a total package. Not only did he have a tremendous arm, but he was athletic, he could run really well, and on top of that, he was a real leader. So I think the offense just gelled around him, and Burt was up for that challenge.
Yeah. Well, I think Teddy was a great offensive mind. I always did, I thought, and he and Burt clicked together, and that really helped. And he gave Burt freedom to do what he wanted to do and be an athlete. And in the film, he showed how good an athlete he is. Almost killed himself a couple times, but he'd run out and he'd make plays just to be making plays to help the team. He's a tough little guy too, He's not so little, but he kept us going. He made big plays. Roger made big plays. Lydell made big plays. Offense did a great job for us that year. We were really a complete team then.
I noticed when I was looking at some of the scores that you beat teams by, you shut out the Giants, and there were 3 other games where you held the opponent to 7 points. That's 4 out of the 14 games played that season. You went 10-4. When you look back at that, how much pride did the whole, beyond the sack pack, how much pride did you all take in playing defensive football?
Well, we took a lot of pride in it. We had something to prove after that first year we all got together, and we had something to prove when we did it. We had good coaching, put us in the right situation. It just, from the defensive backs, linebackers, defensive line, we all played well together. We understood each other. We played well with each other. And that's the main focus. If you play well, if one guy's doing one thing, another guy's doing another, you're not going to get things done right. We all played in unison, and that really helped us a lot.
Joe, you mentioned Maxie Bond, defensive coordinator, earlier. How important was he to the defense?
Oh, he was foundational. He was foundational. He really set the tone for the whole defense, brought in a tremendous system, and then was just a beautiful human being to play for. And I think he was a man that everybody looked up to and admired, and we played accordingly.
How about now, both of you? You still live in Nebraska, or where do you live?
No, I live in Dallas.
Where?
Dallas.
Dallas. And what about you, Joe? You're still in Baltimore, right? Where?
Buffalo.
Buffalo. Oh. Didn't you do some coaching at Gilman or some football?
Yeah.
Some high school football? Have you done any coaching at all?
No. Well, I did some for my younger son. I coached his football teams as a pee-wee and stuff like that. But I was not much of a coach.
Why?
Well, I wasn't any good. I wasn't smart enough. Too many hits to the head, you know what I mean? Got the shakes every now and then.
Where do you see this game now, 50 years later, with the way it's being played versus the way it was played when you were a player? What do you think?
Well, I'm really thankful for the players playing today. They have much safer conditions. They're treated much better. They're obviously paid better, but my rookie year, we went into training camp July 5th. We hit 3 times a day with Howard Snellenberger, played 6 exhibition games for $1.50 a week, and then finally got to the season. So
a lot of people don't know that you didn't get paid during the preseason.
Right. Well, back then they didn't want to pay you anything anyway, So, but we did. We played 18 games every year, and it wasn't. We really didn't sell out the preseason. We played every play of the preseason most of the time. We played 18 games a day every year.
Yeah.
It wasn't like nowadays they're sitting on the bench. They don't play the starters till the first game of the season.